Have you ever calculated how many hours you waste every single spring digging, planting, and worrying about your garden? What if I told you that most of what you know about gardening is a complete waste of time? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are breaking the ultimate rule of traditional agriculture. We are going to talk about planting your food just once and then harvesting it for the next 20 years. Yes, you heard me right. I am going to share the secret of perennial vegetables that are practically indestructible. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to set up a garden that does all the work for you. So, tell me in the comments right now, are you a fan of high-maintenance tomatoes, or are you ready to join the lazy gardening revolution? Long before supermarkets existed, our ancestors did not have the luxury of perfectly controlled greenhouses. They relied on nature to provide food consistently, year after year, especially through harsh conditions. This is where the magic of perennial plants comes into play. A perennial is simply a plant that lives for more than 2 years, dying back in the winter and bursting back to life every spring from its deep, established root system. Modern agriculture made us obsessed with annuals, like cucumbers and peppers, which die every year and force us to buy new seeds. But today, we are going back to our roots. We are looking at 4 specific legendary plants that offer incredible harvests, demand almost no attention, and will literally outlive the fence around your yard. Let us start by completely shattering a huge gardening myth right now. The myth is that a productive garden requires you to break your back every single weekend. The truth is quite the opposite when you embrace the perennial mindset. When you plant an annual vegetable, it has only a few months to grow roots, make leaves, and produce fruit before it dies. It is constantly stressed and needs your help. But a perennial plant spends its first year building an underground fortress. Imagine a massive, deep root system that acts like a sponge, pulling up water and nutrients from deep within the earth where your regular garden hose cannot even reach. Once this underground battery is charged, the plant becomes practically immune to droughts, pests, and bad weather. It is the ultimate insurance policy for your backyard. If you have ever seen an old, abandoned farmhouse with a wild garden still thriving in the ruins, you have seen the power of perennials in action. These plants do not need you. They just tolerate you so you can eat their delicious harvest. Our first superstar is the absolute king of longevity. I am talking about asparagus. Now, you might think asparagus is a fancy, expensive vegetable reserved for high-end restaurants and rich people. But that is only because it is difficult to harvest on a massive commercial scale. In your backyard, it is one of the easiest and most rewarding things you can possibly grow. An asparagus patch can easily produce food for 20, 30, or even 50 years. Think about that for a second. You could plant asparagus today, and your grandchildren could be eating from that exact same plant. It grows by sending up these thick, delicious spears from a central root mass called a crown. These crowns look like giant, creepy alien spiders when you buy them, but they are pure garden gold. Once they are in the ground, they wake up every spring right as the snow melts, giving you one of the very first fresh harvests of the entire year. But there is a catch with asparagus, and it requires a little bit of discipline. You cannot eat it right away. When you plant those alien spider crowns, you need to dig a deep trench. Picture yourself digging a protective moat around a tiny castle. You place the crowns in the bottom, cover them with rich compost, and then let them grow. For the first 2 to 3 years, you are not allowed to harvest a single spear. You have to let those spears grow into tall, fluffy green ferns. These ferns act like giant solar panels, absorbing sunlight and sending all that energy down into the roots. This waiting period is the hardest part. It is a true test of patience. But if you can resist the urge to snap off those delicious green shoots for just a couple of seasons, you will be rewarded with a massive, unstoppable patch that provides pounds of fresh, crunchy food every single spring for decades. Next up is a true giant of the garden. Let us talk about rhubarb. Rhubarb is famous for its bright red, incredibly tart stalks that are an absolute staple in summer pies and crumbles. It is visually stunning. The plant produces massive umbrella-like green leaves that can grow so big you could literally hide under them during a rainstorm. Imagine having a plant in your yard that looks like it belongs in a prehistoric jungle, but tastes like pure dessert. Rhubarb is unbelievably tough. It thrives in cold climates where other plants simply freeze and give up. Many people think growing giant plants requires tons of expensive chemical fertilizers, but rhubarb is perfectly happy with just a thick layer of natural compost thrown over it in the fall. It is the ultimate set-it-and-forget-it plant for anyone who loves sweet and sour flavors. However, there is a very important warning that comes with rhubarb, and this is crucial to remember. While the red stalks are delicious, the giant green leaves are highly toxic to humans and pets. They contain high levels of oxalic acid. Never, ever eat the leaves. Simply chop them off and throw them in your compost pile, where they break down safely. Caring for rhubarb over the years is wonderfully simple. Every 5 years or so, the plant might get a little too crowded. All you have to do is take a sharp shovel, chop right down the middle of the root, and pull half of it out. Boom! You just magically created a brand new, free rhubarb plant to put somewhere else or give to a friend. It is like cloning your favorite dessert over and over again without spending a single dime. Now, let us move on to a plant that sounds exotic but is actually a native powerhouse, the Jerusalem artichoke. Let us clear up a funny myth right away. It is not from Jerusalem, and it is definitely not an artichoke. It is actually a member of the sunflower family, and it is often called a sunchoke. Above ground, this plant grows incredibly fast, shooting up 10 to 12 feet into the air and producing beautiful, bright yellow flowers in late summer. It makes a fantastic, fast-growing privacy screen. Imagine planting a living fence that completely blocks the view of your nosy neighbors in just one season. But the real magic happens entirely underground. While the tall stalks are swaying in the wind, the roots are busy multiplying into dozens of crispy, knobby tubers that look a lot like ginger root. These tubers are incredibly nutritious and taste like a brilliant mix between a water chestnut and a potato. You can roast them, mash them, or slice them raw into salads for a great crunch. But here is the secret to getting the absolute best flavor. Do not harvest them in the summer. Wait until the first hard frost of winter hits your garden. The freezing temperature triggers a chemical reaction in the plant, turning its starches into sugars. Suddenly, your sunchokes become sweet and absolutely delicious. But be warned, the Jerusalem artichoke is notoriously aggressive. If you miss even one tiny piece of a tuber while harvesting, it will grow into a massive new plant next year. Because of this, it is highly recommended to plant them in a dedicated area where they can run wild, or grow them in very large, sturdy containers. Otherwise, they might try to take over your entire lawn. Our final perennial hero is not for the faint of heart. It is the spicy, sinus-clearing survivor known as horseradish. If you have ever bought horseradish sauce in a jar at the grocery store, you have only experienced a fraction of its true power. Freshly grated horseradish from your own garden is an explosive culinary experience. It is spicy, earthy, and packed with incredible health benefits. Historically, people used it as a powerful medicine to clear up respiratory issues long before it became a popular pairing for roast beef. The plant itself is incredibly resilient. It features large, rough green leaves and a taproot that dives deep into the soil. It is perfectly adapted to surviving brutal, freezing winters. In fact, horseradish loves the cold so much that it almost requires a hard freeze to fully develop its signature spicy bite. Harvesting horseradish is an absolute adventure. Because the root grows deep and straight down, you have to do some serious digging. But here is the brilliant, lazy gardening trick. You do not need to pull the whole thing out. When you dig down, just slice off a large section of the side root and leave the main crown exactly where it is. Think of it like a magical bank account. You are just withdrawing the interest while the main deposit stays safe and continues to grow. When you take your harvest into the kitchen to grate it, be prepared. The fumes released when you chop fresh horseradish are completely intense. It will make you cry much faster and much harder than any onion ever could. To keep things under control, many smart gardeners choose to plant horseradish in a deeply buried bucket with the bottom cut out. This brilliant hack keeps the spicy roots contained and makes harvesting 100 times easier. So how do we bring all these amazing plants together into one lazy garden masterpiece? The secret is in the design. Because asparagus, rhubarb, Jerusalem artichokes, and horseradish are permanent residents, you cannot put them in the middle of your regular vegetable beds. You do not want them getting in the way when you are trying to plant fragile lettuce or carrots. Instead, you create a permanent border around the edges of your property. Put the tall, towering Jerusalem artichokes in the back against a fence. Plant the massive rhubarb in the corners where it has room to spread its giant leaves. Give the asparagus a dedicated, sunny trench along the side, and tuck the horseradish into its buried bucket nearby. By organizing them this way, you are creating a permanent, food-producing forest edge. You will literally have a personal grocery store surrounding your yard that requires almost zero watering, zero fertilizing, and absolute zero replanting. It is the smartest investment of your time you could ever make. And there you have it, the ultimate secret to a garden that outlives your wildest expectations. We have uncovered the 20-year lifespan of the delicious asparagus, the giant dessert-making rhubarb, the towering, unstoppable Jerusalem artichoke, and the fiercely spicy horseradish. By shifting your mindset from high-maintenance annuals to these indestructible perennials, you are not just planting vegetables. You are building a permanent legacy of free, healthy food right in your own backyard. It is truly a game changer for anyone who wants massive results with minimal effort. Thank you so much for watching and learning with me today. If you found this information valuable, please hit that subscribe button, give the video a big thumbs up, and share it with a friend who hates weeding. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 4 incredible plants are you going to put in your garden first? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.